Hi. You're dancing.
Hey guys, welcome to another week of our virtual tasting. I think this is week 2.
This is week 2.
Yeah, on fire, ready to go. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I don't know about y'all, but this is the highlight of our quarantine week. This is it.
Yeah, thank you for all you folks tuning in right now. If this is your first virtual tasting, welcome.
And we're glad you found us.
Yeah.
It's not, obvious to always where to find the live videos. So thanks for clicking around. I'm sure people will be joining us as we go.
Absolutely. So if you're a first-time virtual tasting person, why don't you hit the heart button so we can see you. Also,
and then you can find the heart button. There's a heart. There's a thumbs up, and that way you can respond as things go through as we go through the video. And
right. We prefer no sad faces, but other than that,
if you're sad, I guess.
So let's jump into all of our required items. You don't have to have 2 glasses. I enjoy 2 glasses. We're going to go from white to rosé to a couple of different red wines. Also, during tasting, I always love being able to maybe let a wine sit for a little bit and then come back to it and nose it and see how it's evolved in the glass. A lot of our wines will change from the moment you open them to they'll change a lot in the hour or 2 hours after being opened. Let's jump right into our Mourvèdre.
Well, before we do, I just want to say we're in the tasting room. I don't know if you recognize this background. We're in the tasting room alone. We have wonderful Kelsey helping us from a safe distance with all the technology. But here in the tasting room,
alone. Our kids are here, so if you hear some screaming or running around, it's our children.
They're outside with their bike or upstairs on their iPad. There's some iPad time happening this week, as I'm sure any parent out there right now can cut me some slack on that. Yeah. Anyway, where are you watching from? We're in High. Where are you? Let us know where you are, and Chris can talk while you do that.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off with the Carignan Mourvèdre Rosé. 2 of my favorite varieties. This Mourvèdre is all farmed at Timmins Estate by my dear friend Andy and Lauren Timmins and Dusty Timmins. Their whole team over there is fantastic. This is right outside the city of Lubbock. I mean, just like maybe a mile outside on the southwest side of Lubbock. Really cool vineyard. Andy is such a great farmer for us, and his team's so phenomenal. Big shout out to those guys. But this block actually Andy can see from his back porch. So, we do this grand tour of all our blocks. I think we have 28 different families that farm with us now. And so I constantly am out there during the growing season. And hands down, this is one of the best looking blocks in the High Plains. For a lot of reasons, they're a great team, but I think ultimately Andy has to sit and look at this block every day. so he makes sure that it's always like perfect. And we do most of this block for red wine. We split it with La Straw Cellars, but this year we had some weather coming in, and the crop looked great. And we also thought that half of this block we split off for rosé. Also, the Carignan in here was also grown by Andy Timmins and his team, but this is all from La Pradera Vineyards. So that's about 30 minutes south.
So the Carignan is from La Pradera, and the Mourvèdre is from Timmins Estate. Mm-hmm. And you said a second ago that most of Timmins Estate is usually for red wine, but we made some rosé, and you mentioned weather, and
the Timmins Estate Mourvèdre.
Yeah, flesh that out more. Why this time you made some rosé with it? Whereas usually
that's a great question. So that site has a little bit more clay in it, and it holds a little bit more water. So the areas, I want to say that block is only about 3.5 acres. So we'll take the site, the part of the block that has a little bit more water holding, and we'll grow rosé there. So when I say we grow rosé, meaning that we'll leave the crop a little bit heavier. I don't know how much this wine is, but we want the Mourvèdre grapes to kind of, or the rosé grapes to be a little green. We don't want them to really over mature. We don't want the alcohol to be high. We want to retain acidity. So that's why we pick these about 22 and a half bricks or 22 bricks. The alcohol in here is only 12.1, so you can drink lots of so you can enjoy it.
I mean, if you need to start your happy hour early.
But I will say, I think that's why in Texas, I think we are prime for some of the best rosé on the planet Earth, and I think we do. As Texans, I think we are making some really incredible wines and incredible rosés, and we can go pound for pound with anybody in the world. Partly because our guys our farming is getting better and better, but the heat, we can pick these grapes a little bit earlier and really end up with a lower alcohol wine, which in turn retains a little bit more acidity, and it kind of really has a little bit of greenness and freshness, which I love this wine. And Anthony, our COO, we call this his wine. I think he drinks at least a glass a day.
Well, we don't want to call anyone out when they're drinking. Yeah. But if he's drinking some wine on property,
it's Corona, man. It's Corona. No rules. Also want to give a shout out to our boy D. If you guys haven't caught him on our Facebook channel, I believe that's on Instagram as well. 5 o'clock, his happy hours are awesome. D's our director of education. He's doing a fantastic job.
He was mentioned in the Houston Chronicle.
I did not know that.
I know, because of the happy hours, and he also been doing some other things virtually with friends to connect during this time of isolation.
Right. He tunes in from his backyard, which is kind of cool.
Yes, so. He's been doing a great job. If you haven't watched him yet, tune in on Monday at 5.
Absolutely.
On our site, or not our site, not our webpage, on our Facebook page.
Absolutely. Before we get too crazy, I want to talk about next week's 4-pack, which is just going on sale right now. So we're going to do these tastings every week. We've got a bottle of One Way Vineyards Marsanne, which is fantastic. It's a super cool barrel-aged white wine. We've got a Grenache from our boys at Lehe Vineyards. These guys are doing a great job. Shout out to the whole team there. I hope they're watching. Weaver, if you are, this Grenache is fantastic. It's definitely been a big fan favorite too.
I'm most excited about that. We'll be tasting through these next Saturday.
Right. At 4 o'clock. Then this next wine in next week's 4-pack is the Sangiovese from Phillips Family Vineyard. Tony and Madonna, love you guys. I think you're probably watching right now. This comes from their vineyard. They're planting a little bit more Mourvèdre for us. Big Sangiovese growers for us. Really, really sweet folks, and they grow some fantastic grapes. Also, Madonna's chili at harvest it's the best. So.
And lastly,
a little bit of Malbec from Dusty Gillum and Gillum Gap Vineyards in Ropesville. He only has 3 acres, a little bit over 3 acres of Malbec. We've been making this wine for quite some time. He's just a fantastic guy. He's also the vineyard manager at Buena Suerte Vineyards, which you can see some of our Mourvèdre from Buena Suerte, Bill and Gail Day, really great folks, but Gillum Gap Malbec. So all of these are going to be in that 4-pack next week. And if you use
I think, before you go on, the package is called, is it Virtual Tasting 3? Right,
yeah,
so it'll be our third virtual tasting, so that's what the
you.
pack's name is, to keep it clear.
Also, a little gift for all of you guys watching, if you use the code WCV Strong, you get a nice little discount. Again, we're reaching into our library for a lot of these wines, which is great. This is what we have a library for. That's what we want to do, and we're having a lot of fun sharing these wines with you. So
that is WCV, like William Chris Vineyards Strong.
Yeah, which is also our hashtags. If you guys are posting online, definitely use the hashtag WCV Strong. We really appreciate it.
Or William Chris Vineyards, which is our typical normal hashtag.
Absolutely. The 63 families are going strong. It's a beautiful day out here. I've just seen like 3 cars come up for our curbside. Those guys have been super busy all day. The wildflowers are freaking incredible right now. The bluebonnets are amazing. I know everybody's been pent up. There's some folks that drove out from Houston, which is amazing. They think they're on the outskirts of Houston. They came just to pick up their wine, just to get out of the house for a day.
Well, and the wildflowers are blooming. So if you live somewhere where making this drive is a possibility for you, whether it's close enough or you're allowed to by your county or city regulations right now. If you can get out, it's a great way to get outside of your house, get some fresh air, roll your windows down when you're driving. Wildflowers are coming out, and you can pick up wine. We are not the only Texas winery that's doing curbside, so
don't beat your kids. Take a drive and enjoy
they
drive.
need the fresh air too.
we had an interesting week with our kids this week. I walked in the door. Actually, I didn't. We walked in the door this week, and Catherine had this really great schedule she worked out, and with our kids.
Well, I had to make a schedule because otherwise I was sleeping too late and we weren't being productive. So I set my alarm. We have things to do. We got to get our schoolwork done, our chores, fun outside time.
I talked to her a little bit before I got home and said, how was it? And when I walked in the door, she's like, oh, the kids loved it. We had a great schedule, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just was such a great routine. I think the kids loved it.
This was day one. I improved.
We sat down for dinner in June. I go, June, how was the day? And
June's our 9-year-old daughter.
Awful. It was terrible.
She cried at dinner.
I was like, oh my God.
I was like, what? We had all these activities. You were busy all day.
Catherine and I have been kind of talking about, like, we heard on some podcast the other day, it was really great about a husband and wife that come in and go like, hey, I'm at a 40 today, I'm at a 30, I need you at a 70, and like communicating that to each other, and we were just kind of talking about how we can implement that, and I looked in her eyes and I saw her being a 5, and I need to be 95 at that moment.
Granted, he has to come to work. I can do most of what I do from home, so I was at home working, schooling, feeding, parenting. That's why I was a 5. That was my excuse.
And have been for the last 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, I don't know how some women who stay at home, or men, anyone, stay at home all the time, and some of you always work from home and parent. It's a lot. Good job.
That's the message. Don't hit your kids very much or at all, and enjoy wine, and it helps. So,
before you move on, so we're about to move on to the second wine. Some people tuned in late. If you missed the first one, just know that this is live right now, but this video is going to be there for anyone to watch forever. Well, maybe not forever, but for a long time on Facebook. So if you missed something, it'll still be there. Last week, if you missed it, it's still there.
So next wine up, it's getting warmer outside, and I love this wine. This is the 2017 Cinsault from Lost Draw Vineyards. Again, our friends Andy and Lauren Timmons and Dusty, his brother, grow amazing wines for us. Also Francis, their crew leader, their whole team is fantastic. This wine really came to us. Andrew Sides, one of my very best friends, in the winemaker, or one of the winemakers at Lost Draw Cellars. He and I were in France and Spain. We popped over to Spain for a couple of days a few years ago, and we're just so inspired by some of these like really light, fresh, fruit-forward wines that were just had so much depth and so many incredible things going on. They refer to them as Rosé style, which generally means they're aged in it means wood, but it generally means they're aged in like old barrels or large oak casks for maybe 6 months or 7 months, and then aged in bottle for about a year before they're released. And we found many incredible wines over there, but I think that like that trip would just open my eyes to see this like whole fresh style of wine. And as you're looking at some of these Reserva wines, and as Americans you see Reserve and you think that means better. Well, no, it just means that it's aged differently. It's 2 years in barrel, 2 years in bottle. It doesn't have anything to do with quality, right? I think you can hear my kids running around.
Sounds like
upstairs.
a herd of elephant upstairs. That's our loud walking children.
But long story short, we came home and we've been messing around with concrete, and we made, this is the second vintage, I believe, of Cinsault that we've aged in concrete. I think this is about 60% in fermented and aged in large concrete casks, and then 40% in barrel. Such an amazing wine. Like, we're gonna make tacos on Tuesday, and this is exactly what I want with tacos. As it gets warmer outside, throw this wine in the cooler for a little bit. This is a wine, like we have Go Vinos, which are those little like to-go plastic cups that I always keep some in my truck, and they are
not for drinking and driving. But once you get to your destination.
Of course not. No, yeah, right.
Oh, please.
For getting to the ranch, yeah, right. Thank you for clarifying.
Just wanna
but this wine is such a
everyone's
fun.
mind at ease.
It goes great with Texas cuisine, which I love. I mean, if you go to our crush pad, we are constantly putting something on the smoker, and this wine is like always the go-to. It's kind of like a great lunch wine too. So fresh, aromatic, and again, like this isn't your big bruiser wine. It's light, fresh, aromatic, not very tannic, and one of my faves for sure. We also make the Timmins Estate Mourvèdre, which you guys have seen before. It's kind of like a lighter, fresher style that's exactly like this. And I think
And is that one aged in concrete too?
No, that's aged mostly in neutral barrels. But I think you're going to see, like, you're seeing more and more Texas wineries kind of adopting the style, and people are responding to it really well. And I think that in 5 years, you'll see so much more production driven towards this.
I don't know how many other Texas producers have concrete yet, though. That's true, but I think that's still new to our area.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Chris talked about when he was in Spain, but when we took a trip to France
Yeah, we saw
3 years ago,
we saw
I was
where eggs
amazed.
are made.
We saw where concrete eggs are made, but I was amazed that some producers hardly have any barrels, and almost everything is in concrete. And I had never even heard of it until about a year before our trip. It might be fun one day to do a video in the winery and show the concrete tanks, just so you can get a visualization, because it looks nothing like a barrel. It's completely different.
Absolutely. Let's keep on moving, shall we, guys? I slurped that down pretty quick.
Yes, it's delicious.
Someone just asked what was the name of the wine you were drinking again?
Oh, sorry. This is Lost Draw Vineyards Cinsault. So it looks like Cinsault, but this is, it's pronounced Cinsault or Cinsault, from Lost Draw Vineyards, and that's in Brownfield, Texas, about 30 minutes south of Lubbock. Really, really cool spot right off the draw. There's actually like where all the water drains. There's a bunch of different draws around the high plains, and the Lost Draw runs right across Terry County. Alta Loma Vineyards is also right off the draw. Several of our other vineyards are right off the draw. I believe Farmhouse Vineyards, one of their blocks is right off. Actually, two of them are right off.
But there's so many vineyards up in the high plains and in the hill country too. But we were talking about taking a drive, and also talking about entertaining children. What a cool experience just to go drive by some vineyards, talk about the science of farming with your kids.
Absolutely. We've seen there's been a bunch of folks that have driven up today and just like rolled down the windows,
paused in front of the vines,
popped out to take a quick picture, which we definitely encourage. So get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Another question about this one. So what kind of cheese pairs well with it, do you think?
Oh man, so again, this is like light, fresh, acidic, not a lot of tannin. I love Chev with this one. I love Chev any time of day or night or whatever, but Chev goat cheese, there's a couple of really great goat cheese producers or Chev producers around here that we use.
I think like a smoky Gouda would be good with it. You're talking about barbecue with it, and that's kind of smoky.
Absolutely. You don't want it to overpower the wine, but again, like fatty brisket, which again, I don't know why it goes so well with this, but it is awesome with this wine. So.
I also think with pairing, at least for me, I like to just play around. Like when we have a taste of this, and right now with grocery stores being short on certain things, you can make this perfect plan of I'm going to pair this meal with this, and you get to the grocery store and you can't find a quarter of your ingredients. Just play around.
We did that last night, and we opened a bottle. We were eating with some of our neighbors, and we opened a bottle of wine, and it was great, but the wine didn't pair well with the meal, and we went on to a different one. So let's keep on cruising, shall we?
Yeah.
So we're going to go back towards the hill country. This wine is farmed by our team, Bill Blackman. By the way, Bill is doing really well. He wants to tell everybody hi. He's really been out on the vineyards a lot lately. He stopped in and we had a little happy hour at a safe distance
on the
back porch. Yeah. It was great.
More than an arm's length away.
But it was
good to see his face.
Yeah. He's been really working hard.
He brought some really, I wish we would have those pictures. He brought with him some pictures he found. I guess he was cleaning out a closet during this time of being at home. Anyway, he found these pictures from us fishing at his Mason Ranch from Probably before we opened our doors.
Yeah,
I
it's
bet it
probably
was 08 or
2007,
9.
right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it was
Back when I
fun.
was really chubby.
Well,
That's
maybe we
awesome.
can remember to bring those next week. Maybe we can post some on Instagram.
Yeah, oh yeah, I
That'd be
love,
fun.
yeah, absolutely.
Blast in the past.
For sure. So this Montepulciano is by Mandola Vineyards. So this is the vineyard right next to Dukeman. We actually no longer farm that vineyard, but I think maybe for 4 or 5 vintages,
That's a lot.
we farmed this. A really cool vineyard. Damien and Trina Mandola, a really great family, super nice folks. And our team did such a great job with this. And Montepulciano, I think, besides Sangiovese, I think Bill and I were kind of poo-pooing a lot of Italian varieties for quite a long time. And I think the Mandola vineyard really opened our eyes to that. The Montepulciano, the Aglianico that we farmed there was just so fantastic. Of course, the Sangiovese was good as well. But this is sadly, I think, the last vintage that we produced. And it was an incredible vintage, 2017. Again, probably one of the best vintages of my career, and just phenomenal in the hill country and the high plains. This wine spent about, I'm looking at my notes here, I think it was about 20 months.
It's amazing how quickly even the winemaker forgets.
Oh yeah, we only make
been-
80 wines a year. 16 months in neutral wood, only about 30% new French oak. So enjoy.
This is so beautiful.
I do think we have been drinking a lot of this at the house.
This
for sure.
Montepulciano is one of my favorites right now.
Rich, velvety
Amazing.
texture, super ageable as well. The Cinsault, I think, is going to be good for, it's fresh right now. It's going to be good for the next 3-4 years. This Montepulciano has got some life to it. I think you could lay this down for 5, 6, 7 years, no problem. And again, not all these wines are meant to age for 10 years. In fact, we're in a hot climate. A lot of these regions, a hot climate across the world, they're not meant to age for 10 years. So they're not going to make it wine better. So I think that's a big misconception folks have. It's how long I need to age all these wines because they'll be better with age. Well, you know what? A lot of our wines do really well with it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. We talked last week about the Enchanté and how gorgeous it was. The 11 and the 10 and the 12, but we opened a bottle of 08 Enchanté.
No, it was a Merlot.
Oh, it was Merlot, yeah. And I mean, the wine was falling off, it was
still really and
was
but
enjoyable.
You could tell that it had just passed its prime.
the best time for that wine was, probably 2 years ago. And again, it's not a bad thing. We enjoyed the wine, but, not all wine is meant to age. So, I don't want to stop.
I know. I don't want to switch to the next one. Do we have any questions so we can keep sipping on
Yeah, and while you do that,
Montepulciano?
I will decant this. And again, you don't have to decant this, but I wanted to do this on camera today.
This is a cool decanter. This is not your typical decanter. Usually they look like this without this topper on it, and you just let's pretend this was a norm. Well, no, never mind.
Easy tiger.
Talk about this one first, and then we can talk about a decanter that people might have at home and how
Oh,
they're.
okay, so you don't even have to have. Or can you? Can you grab the? You can at our house we use a pitcher half the time. This is a great decanter. You can buy all
This
these.
is a basic.
If you let us know
normal.
whenever you drive up. Obviously, we sell them at the tasting room, but these what are these called? Breathers.
This is a breather decanter,
which I
That's
really
what they call
like.
it.
So this is a very big tannic wine. This is all farmed right behind me. This is what high Texas
This is
tastes
the
like.
Petit Verdot. I don't know if you said that a moment ago.
One question about decanting was which wines do you recommend are good for decanting?
That's a great question. I proofed this wine earlier, tasted it. It was still kind of tight. It was a little reduced. That means the wine was just a little bit funky and could really benefit from oxygen. The tannins were also a little bit grittier. So again, you don't have to do this. You could do the same process of just opening the bottle an hour ago. Would still do a lot of good. These things are kind of cool because you could do this. I will note that if the wine's too old, you're also getting all the sediment when you do this. So it's not optimum for all. This wine is only 5 years old, but 7-8-year-old wine, you're definitely going to get some sediment dropping in this. Most of our wines are either totally unfiltered, unrefined, or very, very lightly filtered. So, over time you're going to get a little bit more sediment to the wine.
So I think of this, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this breather decanter is like a quick decanter. Like does the job faster. Otherwise, you would pour it into your typical decanter and just let it sit for a while. Maybe pour it when you start cooking, and it'll be ready when dinner's served.
Yeah, not all wines are meant to decant either,
and
for
right,
sure.
some like
How long
we wouldn't want to decant this.
I wouldn't decant the Montepulciano either. I mean, it was gorgeous.
Yeah. How long would you decant? Yeah. So this, when you use the breather, that's it. It does it all for you, and you're decanted. With a typical decanter, I think it depends on the wine. I would say anywhere from as short of 30 minutes up to 3 hours plus.
And
it depends on how old the wine is, how big the wine was. Well, I'm just talking.
Perfect example. No, a perfect example is that that 08 Granite Hill Merlot that we drank the other day. Right out of the gate, it was just the aromatics were all kind of confused, I would say. It was kind of all over the place, and we let it sit. We went to a different wine. We opened up a bottle of Anthony's Rosé, and it was. We came back to it an hour later, and it was phenomenal. The wine, again, the wine was a little fallen off, but like totally changed. The wine was totally changed.
Yeah, it was here when you first poured it, and then after that decanted.
Absolutely, a lot of that funkiness blew off, and I would definitely say that depending on, we don't make super sterile, squeaky clean engineered wines. These wines are grown, right? They're not made. And so when you're looking at producers that make wine in that fashion, you got to give the wine time to express itself, especially like some of these older wines. This is 2015 Estate Petit Verdot. This is all farmed here. One of our favorite blocks on the property. It's kind of like it's always the canary in the coal mine, if you will. Like farming it kind of looks like a little wimpy and like doesn't produce a whole lot of fruit. And if there's any fungus in the vineyard, that's the first block to show it for sure.
And that's because of the block location or because of the grape?
No, that's the grape. And that's kind of like standard across the board.
And speaking of block location, for people who have been here and visited us, and I think probably most of you watching have, where is the Petit Verdot planted?
Sure. So this is on the far western side of the property.
The furthermost corner of our planting?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. It's a little bit lower.
On the Fredericksburg side of our property, right. On the road side. Mm-hmm. Okay.
This one's been about 24 months in barrel. Absolutely stunning. Off the Pedernales River Valley, a lot of the kind of key aromatics for me are always violets. Especially off this property, I really just get a lot of violets that if we don't.
Should we drink it while you're talking about it?
Shit, I'm sorry, man. Forgot about my girlfriend.
I know. Well, I still had both my other reds going. That's my problem.
So again, the limestone here really produces a lot of violets. I also get a little bit of sage and like baking spices, which there's very little new oak on this wine. But man, this is definitely one of Bill and I's favorites. Faves. It's also a company-wide fave for sure. We don't produce a whole lot of it. I will say about growing Petit Verdot, after veraison, which is the changing of the colors from green to red, everything just kind of tunes itself up, and in that every Petit Verdot block we have one at La Pradera as well. It's bulletproof after it gets after it starts really ripening after veraison. You can let it sit out there. It doesn't, like, sometimes you have some varieties that like will ripen really quickly. Petit Verdot, you can just let it hang out there. You can check it every other day, and it's it's almost, well, knock on wood, a little bulletproof.
Don't jinx us now.
and I tell you what, it's looking beautiful in the High Plains as well. That La Pradera block has been really good for us for a long time. So we're actually thinking about planting some more of this as well. There's a little dash of that PV that goes into a little bit of Enchante as well. So What kind of questions we got, Kelsey?
We got, what would you consider to be an older wine?
I think it depends on where it comes from and what the wine is, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I'd say an older wine, like 4 or 5 years old, is an older wine for sure. I mean, only 2% other wine in the world is meant to be aged over 5 years. You know, so like,
Wow.
Yeah.
2%.
Not very much. So there's,
I'm
and I'm sure
shocked.
somebody on Facebook will like disagree with me. That's okay. But you know, it's a quote that I've seen that not all wine is meant to be aged. It's most people drink these wines like when you buy them.
Right. Right.
We got another good question. What's the difference of the white labels versus the black labels?
Oh,
That is a great
Yeah.
question.
thank you for asking that.
That was a question that if you have some of our older bottles still that were aged, it may not apply to the new rule.
So when Bill and I started, we wanted to have an amazing place for people to work, and we also wanted to share with people what Texas tasted like. And so what that meant to us is sharing what all these little regions and what all these little areas of Texas tastes like. Perfect example, the Montepulciano that's farmed 40 minutes from here, it's also farmed on limestone. It's also different. It doesn't taste the same. If we grew Montepulciano on this property, they taste worlds apart because the limestone is different. You know, you've got a little bit more like crustacean and fossilized limestone in driftwood area, and the Petit Verdot is here. Is really really reminiscent or has a lot of those violet characteristics. So what's interesting is these single vineyard wines all have the black label. I think that's maybe 5 years ago. Babe, help me out.
Well, it was kind of a gradual change. There
Yeah.
was some. I kind of work with the labeling printers.
Not
on
kind
what-
of. She does it all. So.
Well, I work. It's like I'm the go-between between the winemaker and the winery team. What they're making and what we need to put on the label. Anyway, so it's kind of been slowly defined.
She makes sure we have our shit together. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That she does. She does. She makes sure that all our company is in line and our labels are appropriate.
So the black is for single varietal,
Single
vineyards wine. So Enchanté, on the other hand, you'll notice is a lighter color label, like this one because it's a blend.
Right.
But then on the whites and rosés, they're pretty much always white
Right.
labels.
Because they're multiple vineyards, multiple sites.
Well, even if they aren't, let me think.
You know, I didn't realize that until just now. But
Yeah,
we put
I mean the
Marcel.
whites are really just white labels.
So we got to get our stuff together. We're gonna
I
put
know,
black
we've
label
been
on
breaking our own rule.
I just realized that. Well,
Every
thank you.
rule is meant to be broken, right?
That's right. Speaking of breaking rules, or not breaking
Uh-oh.
rules, coming up we have a super cool contest that we want to introduce.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's breaking rules.
Well, you shouldn't break any rules while you photo or video in this contest.
Oh, you're talking about there are rules for the contest. That's what
Yeah.
you're getting at.
Yeah.
I wasn't following your train of thought. I got it now. I'm on your train.
Get your head out of the gutter,
Ready?
man. Come on.
Ready?
So we're gonna do a really fun photo contest. We want to know how epic your quarantine, how you can make your quarantine more epic with William Chris wine.
How you've been dealing with it too.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do a photo contest. You can also put a video out there. You can put it up on the gram, put it up on Facebook. You need to use 2 hashtags. Mom, Dad, if you're listening, a hashtag is the
It's the pound sign.
It's the pound sign. Yeah. So use 2 hashtags, not 1, 2. Use William Chris Vineyards, not William Chris Wine. William Chris Vineyards. Also use WCV Strong. That's hashtag WCV Strong.
WCV William Chris Vineyard Strong.
Absolutely. Videos are encouraged. Please keep it below the belt, keep it above the belt. Sorry. Above the belt. That is a family show here, family show. We want wholesome pictures.
You can read his mind, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was talking to you about keeping your mind on the guy. So we're gonna kick off that contest. What do they win, Vienna? We're going to give away
2-night stay in the Highway House.
For 2 couples. So
Yes.
you and whoever you're virtual tasting with today.
Your best buddies.
Your best buddies. You can come and enjoy a 2-night stay anytime.
2 rooms for 2 nights.
2 rooms for 2 nights. Yeah, absolutely. We're also going to do a killer little barrel tasting with Catherine and I. And who knows, maybe we go for dinner afterwards. I don't
Maybe,
know.
we could go to dinner. We look at that concrete tank we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a great time. So
Walk in the vines.
Again, we want to see your epic quarantine pictures. Again, no hitting your kids. You want to keep it.
Gotta keep it.
So
Do something that you would be proud for your family to
Yeah.
see you doing.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Before I forget too, we've got a lot of folks are getting ready for Pet Nat season, Petit Natural 2019.
Yes. We're gonna have a Pet Nat party on Friday at 5. So close out your work week.
Show 'em your Pet Nat party dance. Cool.
I haven't practiced it yet. I got some. Well, actually, I'm not even going to say I have moves because then I'll really have to do it, and I have no moves.
We're gonna
I'm
do a
terrible
Pet Nat party
dancer.
on Friday at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
We'll be-
Pet Nat party at 5 o'clock on Friday. Get your Pet Nat. FYI, 2019 Pet Nat, she's lively.
Well, and FYI, he didn't just pull this out of the cabinet. This has been
Oh yeah, it's been on ice.
before it was in the ice. It was in a cold fridge.
Yeah.
So he'll talk more about that. But don't just think it's been sitting out.
Pet Nat is one of the oldest winemaking styles in the world. Chip Hughes, if you're out there, I know you've been drinking this like crazy. One of my old fraternity brothers loves this wine. Oh, can I
Hi,
get
Chip
another
and
glass?
Lauren, if you're watching.
Yeah. So Pet Nat, it finishes fermentation in the bottle, which means you can kind of see. You can't get to see.
Put
it
over
very well.
that one too for
Maybe that
Instagram.
one. So there's a little sediment. So this is Rosé. We bleed off different fermentations. We whole cluster press a few different fermentations or for a few different lots, and then we make this like really cool, interesting blend of all our different rosés, and they finish fermentation in the bottle.
Oh, you want one too?
Chelsea wants some too.
I thought there was some that one.
So
I get you.
what's really cool is so this is before champagne was ever champagne. They were making Pet Nat. This method is thousands of years old. We've been making it for about 8 vintages, and so each bottle varies a little bit. But what's really important when you're opening Pet Nat is to make sure it's really cold.
I want to even stop you there before you get to opening. I want to make sure it's really cold, and how should it have been cooled and stored?
Oh yeah, so you can store it on your wine rack. You can store it, in your wine fridge, whatever. But when you go to open it, when you go to drink it, you need to make sure that this is cold, not
cool, ice cold.
Yeah, not wine fridge
Ice
cold or
cold.
cold. You need to make sure it's in your fridge or like on ice.
Or on ice like we had it, or in your freezer for 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
It's got to be really cold.
So if you forget any of these steps, we put a little tag on each one of these. So if you don't follow these steps, disaster will happen. It's not going to be pretty. You're going to open this and shit's going to go or wine's going to go everywhere.
Explode.
Yeah. So don't open this around your laptop. Maybe your kids if they didn't like the structured day. So make sure that. The bottle is upright too when you're cooling it. Make sure it's upright in the fridge.
Yeah, don't lay it next to your carrots.
You could throw it in the freezer.
Put it on the door upright.
You could throw it in the freezer for a little bit, 10 minutes. If you do throw it in the freezer, make sure that you throw a timer on it, like put an alarm on your phone for 10 minutes. 'Cause
We've made that mistake
you're
before.
drinking, having a good time, one thing leads to another, and you forget this. Of course, you'll get thirsty after a while and you'll find it. But then you can use a pet or like a bar key or a bottle opener. This has obviously got a crown cap on it. You could use just a little wine key.
Whatever you open up your beer bottles with.
But, yeah,
same thing.
right.
Same closure here.
But don't mess around. If you're opening champagne, you want to let it hiss. This ain't champagne. This is not your.
No hissing.
This isn't your grandmother's, champagne.
What's that saying?
This ain't. I can't remember.
What did your grandma's?
We'll have to look that up.
If you know what we're talking about, tell us what we're talking about.
So when you open it quick, and you want to pour it quickly. You want to have glasses ready. Again, don't mess around. You want to get your hand on here, open it.
And there it goes. Beautiful, because it was cold enough and upright.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be delicious.
And I would not.
This was on. It's on the website now. Our 2019 Pet Nat Petit Pétillant Natural. Wow, I'm tongue-tied.
You wrote the label.
I wrote the label, but I can't say it all of a sudden. But anyway, it's on there. We've got a wonderful special price for the case.
$200 a case? Are you kidding me?
Or you can buy by the bottle.
Where's Poe?
And if you, what is it? You order. Poe Pump. If you order by, what are we saying right now, Kelsey? Is it?
By
I know
Wednesday.
UPS is slower right now because they're overloaded.
Probably Tuesday.
I think Tuesday evening, to be on the safe side, order by Tuesday evening. You will have it in time for your pet nap party on Friday at 5.
When I say party, we're going to have an epic,
dancing.
yeah, I'm going to practice. We're going to do epic dance moves. It's going to be great.
We can get the kids into dance.
Our kids are awesome dancers, by the way.
They love to dance.
Or they think they're awesome dancers. Guys,
I love
thank you so much for tuning in. You know, this week has been, I mean, what is this, week 2.5
It's
of
only,
the quarantine?
yeah, only really like 2.
I was thinking this week about, I was kind of I was telling a reporter this week, I was like, I'm so pissed off and I have to be on another conference call. Like, I feel like I love seeing our team, I love seeing people, I love seeing the reactions on their face. And you know, we're all on this virtual thing. And then I thought, you know, like, we need to be champions of our industry. We need to be have the courage to be positive, and not be afraid. And again, when you say courage, you know, meaning not that you need to just take the fear and don't think about it. You need to recognize it, put it in your pocket, set it aside, and then walk through that. And so I'd say I highly recommend just have courage in your meetings to not be a complainer. You know, be the best version of yourself every day, and really practice that. And it does. It's so easy when somebody's like, oh, this sucks because of that, or this sucks because of, you know, like this day was bad, and you know, my kids didn't like my schedule, or whatever.
I was going to say not my kids and not my schedule, but the kids were complaining. But yeah, I guess it was me too.
But if we can all be
Learning curve.
champions and have the courage to lead the folks around us, to you know, look at the bright side of things. We're all in this together, right? There's all this tough time happening, but we will get through it. Wine helps, but just love your neighbor. You know,
Take advantage of the extra time you have with your family that you didn't have time for
Absolutely.
before. All the games you can play and books you can read, conversations you can have. Yeah, wine you can drink.
Also, guys, on behalf of the 63 families, we haven't lost one person. Everybody on our team is just really incredible. You're talking to some of them on the phone, they're calling. Our curbside is doing great. We're bottling wine like crazy. We've got a bunch of folks in our vineyard right now from our tasting room that are just working around the clock just to keep up our vineyards. Thank you on behalf of all 63 of us. Also, we have 27 different families growing grapes for us that you know, we're gonna be buying their fruit, so that, and they thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Like, we just can't appreciate you, to say thank you enough, and we appreciate you. It's been so heartwarming to see your notes, to see your cars pull up and enjoy our wine and be picking it up and ordering it online and shipping it. Thank your UPS guy. I know they're not perfect guys, but man, they are keeping our company afloat right now. So we really appreciate it. So
So we'll see you for the Pet Nap Party on Friday at 5, and then for our next virtual tasting Saturday at 4, and everything in between on social time. Dee's got his happy hour Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week at 5.
Virtual
lots of ways to
tastings.
interact with us and to not be alone. Do you have
Kelsey.
a question? Good question.
Photo contest
Oh,
will
yes.
end on Friday, and we will
Yes.
announce the winner at the Pet Nap.
Okay.
Just
Photo contest ends on Friday. What time? Noon?
Yeah.
Noon Friday is the end of the photo contest, and Pet Nap Party will
High
celebrate
noon.
the
High
winner.
Yeah,
At
perfect.
high noon. There you go.
Thank you guys. We want to see your photos. We'll check in with you soon. From High America, we're out. Love you.
Bye. Thank you.